Good afternoon, everyone. So lovely to have you here today. By virtue of the powers granted by the Privy Council, the Royal Conservatoire of Scotland is this day holding a congregation for the conferment of degrees. Our ceremony begins with the conferment of an honorary degree. The authority of degree awarding powers resides with the Academic Board of the Conservatoire, which may confer an honorary degree of doctor upon any person it considers has made a truly outstanding contribution to their profession and whose achievements richly deserve high distinction and recognition. I now invite Professor Dorothy Meal, Chair of the Board of Governors, to introduce the sponsor for the honorary graduate.
Principal Sharkey, I invite Kerry Livingston, Head of Modern Ballet here at the Conservatoire, to sponsor Akram Khan for the degree of Doctor of Dance.
Chair, Governors of the Conservatoire, members of the Academic Board, graduands, invited guests. Big birthdays often lead to a pause for reflection, and in this, the month of his 50th birthday, Akram Khan, MBE, has much to reflect upon and be proud of. However, Akram Khan is most definitely not your average 50-year-old. In spite of all he has achieved, the overwhelming sense is of what is still to come. Akram is not a man who is self-congratulatory or satisfied with the status quo. He's a disruptor, although not disruptive, and his unique achievements across his career have changed the artistic landscape. Born in London to Bangladeshi parents, the young Akram trained in South Asian dance style of Kathak. At the age of 10, he made his stage debut in The Adventures of Mowgli, and a major theatrical breakthrough came a couple of years later when he was cast in Peter Brook's production of Mahabharata. He then toured with this production between 1987 and 1989, and he has described the impact of this experience on his artistic development. Despite having no actor training when he was cast, Akram credits his dance training for how comfortable he was in his body and how Brooks would then be able to mould him. The physicality and an interest in narrative are two key features which can be traced through his subsequent career and set him apart from the more traditional dance world. Akram is an extraordinary dancer and was supported by his family in his Kathak studies. Asked in an interview what he wanted to be when he grew up, the young Akram said, "Like my Indian Kathak dance masters." In fact, he became a master himself. However, he wanted more. The next question in the same interview was, "What's the worst thing that anyone has said to you?" "That I dance like my Indian Kathak dance masters." Instinctively, Akram knew that he had to find his own voice. He added to his classical training with a degree in contemporary dance, followed by a master's at Northern School of Contemporary Dance in Leeds. His ability to blend diverse movement vocabularies is characteristic of many of his own powerful performances, and this skill is a defining feature of his choreographic career. From contemporary to Kathak to flamenco to classical ballet, and even Kylie Minogue, Akram has actively sought out opportunities to collaborate, expand, and develop. In 2000, along with Farooq Chowdhury, an ambitious vision came to fruition with the formation of Akram Khan Company, fueled by a desire to learn and create through collaboration with the very best people across all the disciplines in the arts. The rules were simple: take risks, think big and daring, explore the unfamiliar, avoid compromise, and tell stories through dance that are compelling and relevant, with artistic integrity. The company is critically acclaimed and has a global reach, making a wide variety of collaborative work to great critical acclaim, including Olivier Awards, 9 Critics' Circle National Dance Awards, the Herald Archangel Award at the Edinburgh International Festival, and many more. Akram himself was nominated an MBE in 2005 for his contributions to dance. His performance and choreography for the opening ceremony of the 2012 Olympic Games in London, which you may remember was accompanied by the Scottish singer Emily Sandé, was impactful and dynamic, both in the stadium, but also in how it was filmed live and relayed around the globe. Narrative intention is central to his work. Perhaps this is a consequence of his extensive early experiences in theatre and film and his own positive interactions with actors and directors, who he found generous and open with their advice and support. It also provides a starting point for his choreography. Akram is drawn to stories and to the people he can work with collaboratively to tell these stories. He values the process and refuses to be rushed. This can present a challenge when working in certain environments, particularly ballet companies. I wonder if his non-ballet background was exactly the thing which underpinned his success when the opportunity to create a work with Tamara Rojo at English National Ballet emerged. The first work, Dust, was relatively small scale, but proved fascinating for Akram and whetted his appetite for more. Although aware of ballet and the similarities to his own classical training, he was unburdened by the weight of a long ballet career. He refused to comply with the relatively swift standard creation process for a new work and waited until time was created in a busy rehearsal schedule to make his version of the romantic classic Giselle. I suspect if the time hadn't been granted, he would simply have said no. The impact of that new work on the ballet world cannot be understated. A contemporary retelling of the traditional tragic love story where the narrative took centre stage. Working alongside the dramaturg Ruth Little and collaborating closely with costume and set designers, the lighting, the composers, and of course the dancers, Akram's Giselle forged a new vocabulary to tell the story for a new time. Updated to reflect modern issues and with a strong, hopeful female protagonist, the story was interpreted through a different lens, whilst retaining point work and developing the possibilities of the classical ballet language. Akram often talks about support and the importance of family in his journey. He has benefited from a strong maternal role model, and his mum is here today, and was influenced by his aunties growing up. This may have been a factor in his reinterpretation of stories from a female perspective, which has been a feature in his work and makes a refreshing change in the dance profession. Akram has achieved an incredible amount in his first 50 years, making an indelible mark on the development of dance, storytelling, and theatre. As well as wishing him a happy birthday, I'm also looking forward to what's still to come. As an artist and a choreographer, he's an asset to the profession, and I therefore ask the Principal to confer the degree of Doctor of Dance, honoris causa, upon Akram Khan.
Akram, by virtue of the powers granted by the Privy Council to the Royal Conservatoire of Scotland, to confer an honorary degree of the Conservatoire upon any person it may deem worthy of such distinction, and in the name of the Academic Board, I confer upon you, Akram Khan, the degree of Doctor of Dance, honoris causa. Many congratulations.
First of all, I'd like to say thank you so much for the very kind speech. But I have to say, every time she said the number 50, and She said it quite a few times. I'm joking. The reality is hitting me now. No, but it's really a moment to say thank you to this beautiful organization that celebrates arts. And you have to realize that it's not just one body. You see me on stage, but our bodies are living museums. It's a community of people that have put me here today. It's my parents, it's my community, it's the faculty, the teachers who believed in me, it's the institutes, it's the industry. It's so many people that are involved. So really it's not just a celebration of me or you, it's the devotion that your parents have. So I really want to thank you for believing in your children on a subject matter perhaps that may feel a little bit wavering or like not knowing where dance, music, theatre sits in the bigger scheme of things. But I cannot express how important it is that you support them and continue to support them. And we're so privileged. I have to constantly remind myself how privileged we are. Because we get to do something that is the oldest ritual of humankind. I used to think that oldest ritual was eating together as a family. But that doesn't exist. I mean, it does, but it doesn't, because I have 3 children, very crazy kids, 11, 9, and 2. And my wife and I are sitting, eating together. And I'm like, this is really beautiful, we're eating together. My daughter's on the iPad. My son's on television. My wife's on the phone. And my 2-year-old, well, let's see. We are eating together, but we're not present together. So the oldest ritual of humankind is not present anymore. So when COVID happened, I felt, wow, we were going to lose the second oldest ritual, which is about gathering together to awaken the 5 senses, to share narratives together. It's all the way from cavemen, cave people, our ancestors, way back, where they would come together in front of a cave, have a fire, and we would tell stories, share stories through music, dance, and theatre. And I thought we were going to lose that during COVID because I thought theatres would close and they wouldn't come back. But they did come back. And what's important to say, people ask me why we do what we do and why is it such a gift. Well, the stage is not special. It's not sacred. The stage could be anywhere. It could be on the street. We think that the stage is a theatre that has a special vibe, but it's not. What makes it special is if there's 1,000 seats and there's 1,000 audience, you sign a contract the moment you buy a ticket to say, I'm going to give you an hour and a half of my full attention. I'm going to be present in that show. So 1,000 people being present at that moment. Actually, it's like watching a football match. I'm not into football, but when I was there, a friend took me. The energy of the people that were present, it was almost like an opera. It was very spiritual and sacred. So the purpose of going to theatre, the origin of it was to awaken the 5 senses. What do I mean by that? When I ask someone, why does somebody go to a church or a temple or to a mosque or a synagogue? They say it's to pray for this or pray for that, or this is a special occasion for this, or my child is having a child, and so I want to pray to God for that. But the original purpose of going to a temple, as the same as going to a theatre, was to awaken the 5 senses. What do I mean by that? In a temple, the old temples were built on a hill. So to awaken the sense of sight. So you would see this beautiful temple. Then you'd walk up to the temple and you'd ring the bells. You would touch the bells to awaken the sense of sound, hearing. You would walk up to the god or the statue and you would touch the feet of the statue, which is made of a very special stone, to awaken the sense of touch. But as you're touching the feet of the statue, there are incense burning to awaken the sense of smell. And before you leave, the priest would offer you food, blessed food, which is to awaken the sense of taste. How is that different to theatre? Listen, before we go out tonight at 7:30, do you want to catch something to eat? So you'd say to a friend, let's go and eat, or let's go and eat after the show. So the ritual of eating. Of course, smell. Why do you wear a particular perfume? So suddenly, to awaken the sense of smell. And of course, sight is on stage and sound is on stage. And touch, you're sitting next to strangers or friends, so you're not sitting with a separation of a meter or half a meter. Your shoulders are side to side to awaken the sense of touch. So the original purpose of going to a theatre is to awaken the five senses. This is the greatest gift one can have. And it's such a privilege as a dancer or as an actor or as a musician to be on stage where 1,000 people or 500 people or 10 people are willing to give an hour or an hour and a half of their undivided attention. I'm very privileged to be here to see you all support your children as I am to see my mother be here. I lost my father 2 years ago. And I just want to finish off by saying, it's hard. I remember my parents going, oh my God, we're pushing you, we know you want to dance, but we don't know where that leads to. And all my community, all the kids, all the boys and girls my age are either doctors now or some mad scientists or lawyers or engineers. And the funny thing is they all come to my show now. But what was interesting at the time was there was this doubt of how is my child going to find a pathway through? And I just quickly want to share a story if I can, if you permit me. And the message of the story really is, before I say it, is that sometimes you don't have to see something in order to believe it. The pathway might not be clear the way it was clear for my community that, okay, to be a doctor you have to go here, 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 and then you become a doctor. Arts, it's much more difficult. It's much more invisible. You have to find your own way. You have to create your own path. But it doesn't mean just because you can't see it, that it doesn't exist. There is a connection and you will find a pathway. You just have to be flexible and have to think differently. And so it reminded me of a story regarding my father, where many years ago I was in Australia at Sydney Opera House performing, and it was the 4th show. And I remember that because I was doing a duet with Juliette Binoche. And we'd just finished the show, and I was exhausted, and the hotel was very close, but I thought, you know, it's nighttime, I'm going to take a taxi. So the first taxi arrived, and I opened the door, and a couple behind me thought I opened it for them, and they got in the taxi. And then they shut the door, and I thought, I know they're probably from my audience. But I don't want to say anything because you can't really, otherwise you're going to be looked at as being disrespectful or rude, actor or whatever. So I kept quiet. And then they rolled down the window. The taxi didn't move, and they said, are you Akram Khan? I said, maybe. I didn't want to say yes, but I didn't want to say no. So I was a bit confused of how should I behave. And they said, you were just in the performance, right? Just now with Juliette. I said, maybe. It didn't kind of affect them at all. They just said, thank you so much for the show, rolled up the window and left. The second taxi arrived, and I opened the door, but before I opened the door, I checked that nobody was behind me. And I got in the taxi, and as I opened the door, before I got in the taxi, it was the first time in my life that I felt I had to speak to my father. I had to call my father in London. I've never had that urge before. I was never that close to my father. My father was a different kind of human being. I'm very close to my mother, so usually I would call my mother. But anyway, I had this urge to call my father. I didn't know what time it was in London. So anyway, I got in the taxi and I called my father. He picked up. He must have been asleep because he was annoyed. And he said, what do you want? And I was like, I didn't know what to say. I just needed to speak to him. I just needed to hear his voice. And I couldn't explain that I needed to hear his voice. And I said, he said, are you in trouble with the police? I said, no. Can I not just have a conversation with you? Why do I have to be, you need money, right? I said, I'm a grown man, everything is fine, don't worry. You know what, I'll go back to sleep. So he went back to sleep, I assume. I put the phone down and I spoke to him in Bengali. The taxi driver turned around to me and asked me, is your father's name Musharraf Hussain Khan? Now, in my culture, or in many cultures, you don't say your father's name directly to them. If somebody asks me about my father or mother, I would say this is my father's name, but you don't say to your dad their name. So I was like, okay, I didn't mention my father's name. Why are you asking this question? And he said, please, just tell me. I said, yeah. His name is Mushraf. And then he asked me, can you answer one more question? I said, what is it? He said, is your father from Algichor? I said, pardon me? He said, Algichor. Now, Algichor is a village. I'm sure you have places in Scotland like that, and in England and everywhere, where the rest of the country doesn't know that place, only the people that live there. So it's a very specific place, right? 200 people, I assume, know that place. 195 of those people still live there. The other 5 are my mother, my sister, myself, my dad, and I'm presuming this taxi driver. So I'm freaked out a bit, because I'm like, why would the CIA want with me in Australia? I started freaking out. I'm in the performing arts. I've got nothing. Anyway, so I said, look, you have to stop the car. I'm feeling very uncomfortable. And he was speaking to me in Bengali and said, please, can you just tell me if he's from Algichor? I said, how do you know this information? And he goes, just confirm it with me. And he got quite emotional. So I said, stop the car. So he did stop the car in the middle of the road, and I got out. And then I thought, you know what, I need to hear. I need to know. So I got back in the taxi and I said, you tell me how you know. He said, first confirm it. I said, yes, he's from Algichor. He said, I've been looking for your father for 35 years. He was my closest friend, and we grew up in a village together called Algichor. And your father had big dreams. He went to Dhaka University, and from there, he wanted to go to Europe, and he wanted to cook. He loves cooking. He wanted to do business. He wanted to own a restaurant, etc., etc. So I said, this can't be possible. From a conversation with my father, so I called my father back. He said, what do you want now? I said, I'm sorry to wake you up. Listen, there's a man that you need to speak to. Apparently he's your friend. He said, what do you mean? I said, oh, hold on. How do you know my father? And he said, oh, say Billu Bhai. Bhai means brother. Billu it's a nickname that only my father would know. I said, Abba, it's a man called Billu Bhai. And the phone went silent. It was the first time I heard my father cry. That man, Billu Bhai, had given money to my father. He sold some cattle or whatever and gave some money to my father to go live his dreams, because both of them couldn't. But he knew that his son was famous because he read it in newspapers in Bangladesh and in Australia. So he guessed when I was coming from the opera house that maybe this, you never know, maybe this boy is connected to his old best friend. I went back to Sydney Opera House the next year and I performed, and I stopped the show and I told this story, and a couple came up to me, not the same couple that got in the first taxi, but they came up to me and they said, do you know who that couple were, the first couple? I said, no, but I'm baffled and confused by the story because I can't still make the connection. I can't see the connections, so I'm confused all the time. I don't understand the story. I don't understand that. Why did I want to call my father on the first taxi, a second taxi when I opened the door? When I got in the taxi, why did I speak to him? I never want to call him. Why did I call him then? And then on top of that, I could have got in the first taxi, but the old couple a couple got into the taxi before me. And this couple that was watching this show then said to me, maybe that couple were your angels. If they hadn't got in the first taxi, you would never got in the second one. So I started to see, not logic, but pathways that I could not see before. And I started to make connections with things that I could not necessarily see, but they were there. So I just wanted to share this story with you because I feel that even if you don't know that there is a pathway, or that you cannot see that there is a pathway, it doesn't mean that it doesn't exist. It does exist. You have to just make it. You have to make your own pathway. Thank you so much.
It is now my pleasure to introduce a film in celebration of the work of Dr. Akram Khan.
The bass. The history of life.
Directors to present the graduands for their awards.
Principal, in the name of the School of Drama, Dance, Production and Film, and with the authority of the Academic Board of the Royal Conservatoire of Scotland, I present to you these graduands who have been found worthy to receive the degree of Bachelor of Arts, Modern Ballet. Rose Barford. Zara Bell. Layla Bruce. Talia Buckley. Sophie Gray. Olivia Harrison. Olivia Hunter. Sean James. Lily Mowbray. Mia Nichols. Ayana Phillips. Mary Jean Riley. Aoife Rosenmeyer. Jody Sunley. Miyu Takasugi. Phoebe Watson. Elizabeth Williams. Elwyn Yardley. Hikaru Yonayama. Kei Yonayama. With the authority of the Academic Board of the Royal Conservatoire of Scotland, I present to you these graduates who've been found worthy to receive the degree of Bachelor of Arts, Musical Theatre. Eden Berry. Matthew Don. Kyle Donny. Katrina Gold. Camila Lopez Davila. Finley Mackay. Ava McKinnon. Eva Mord Anderson. Gregor McMillan. Nathan Morris. Ronan O'Hara. George Shooter. Alexander Jude Sugitan. Ina Tresvales. Mackenzie Wilcox. With the authority of the Academic Board of the Royal Conservatoire of Scotland, I present to you these graduates who have been found worthy to receive the award of Professional Graduate Diploma in Musical Directing. Ellen Arnold. Emily Kezia Green. Jacob Sternberg.
Principal, in the name of the School of Music and with the authority of the Academic Board of the Conservatoire of Scotland, I present you these graduates who have been found worthy to receive the award of Artist Diploma in Music. Shonchang Gu. Jiayang Song. With the authority of the Academic Board of the Royal Conservatoire of Scotland, I present to you this graduate who has been found worthy to receive the degree of Master of Arts in Composition, Laura Hannigan. With the authority of the Academic Board of the Royal Conservatoire of Scotland, I present to you these graduates who have been found worthy to receive the degree of Master of Music in Composition, Cassia Bailey. David Ford. Mingdu Lee. Seong Oh. Bijak Ramaprasad. In conducting, Oliver Cope. Hyunam Peggy Woo. In jazz, Yu Chao Hu. James Steele. In opera, Roisin Lavery. In performance, Ines Alves Ferreira Suarez. Ines Aragan Carreño. Emma Baird. Callum Blair. Lily Catherine Brown. Elizabeth Clarence. Ryan Corbett. Jianong Ding. Josiah Dulstin. James Earl. Jorge Fuentes Ramirez. Choi Gao. Sophie Hamilton. Aishin Hay. Caitlin Heathcote. Chutan Hu. Tongjia Hu. Virginia Lafayne. Sophia Lee. Yushan Lee. Roshan Linehan. Hong Seng Liu. Feiran Liu. Jijin Liu. Shaping Lo. Hayu Lo. Parker Millspaw. Michael O'Rourke. Yehor Hopkoltsin. Wen Chi Tang. Zara Wardrobe. Fanjo Wei. In piano for dance, Luca Stotto. Principal, with the authority of the Academic Board of the Royal Conservatoire of Scotland, I request that you confer the appropriate degree upon those graduates listed as in absentia in the programme.
I confer the appropriate degrees in absentia.
Principal, I present to you the winner of the Principal's Prize for all-round excellence in the School of Music, Ryan Corbett.
To the class of 2024, congratulations. You got here. You did it. Bravo. This is your graduation and your day to celebrate, and we're really proud of you. And we all know there's been a whole team of people on this journey with you, helping you make it possible. I want to mention some of them today, and they're the people who lead your program teams, your teachers, the staff across the RCS, as well as your classmates and fellow students, who I'm sure at difficult times in the years rooted for you, helped you get through them, and thrive. Another important part of that home team are your friends and loved ones, some of whom are right here in the Stevenson Hall with you today. Can I ask you all to be upstanding and applaud them by way of saying thank you for all the love and support they've given you? I was thinking about what to say to all of you today and reflecting back on my 34 years teaching and working in first as a secondary school teacher in music and then in higher education. I've also worked in the arts all those years as a composer, performer, and teacher as well. And this started in 1990, before a lot of you were even born. In that year, petrol was 42p a liter. The Simpsons were launched on TV. The first web server was invented that created the foundation for the internet that we know and hate with equal measure. And Scotland's Tartan Army was joyfully, apparently, doing well in Italia 1990 in the World Cup. And back then, the saying was, "No Scotland, no party." And I now know what that means. So much has changed in that time, since 1990. But what's not changed for me is the joy that we all feel in helping young artists and creative producers develop their craft across different art forms. What's also not changed is the resilience and adaptivity you continue to show in how and where you deploy your skills to ensure that you and your art have an impact in the communities where you live and work. Today we stand at a juncture where, for all we contribute to our economies and to the well-being of our communities, we artists are still not valued as we should be. If only we artists could enjoy a tiny fraction of the extraordinary pride and passion expressed so wonderfully for a Scottish men's football team that were just happy to be there and came back home looking respectable, even if they were eliminated in the early rounds. But know this, we've been really respectable for a long time. We've been world-class. We've been innovative. The creative success and global impact emanating from this small country is huge. It starts with a conservatoire that's been ranked in the top of the world for the best part of a decade, alongside New York, London, Paris, and Vienna, and continues to world-class orchestras, operas, theaters, ballet, contemporary arts, traditional music, and contemporary music, absolutely everything across the creative spectrum. But we've been taken for granted. Our festivals and companies are losing funding. The funding of arts education at every level is less than adequate. and our artists and creative producers have felt forced to find ways to deliver our work more efficiently, to accept lower pay, grateful to have the work at all. No plumber, lawyer, accountant, or indeed football player would be expected to work under such conditions. But we artists have done so, and often do with a smile and a light heart, because we love what we do. But enough is enough. Action is required. Here in Scotland and across the world, we need greater philanthropy and better public funding to help make art and arts education and artistic excellence possible. And we need greater recognition of our value from our fellow citizens, as well as our political representatives, some of whom we might be voting for later today. But what we do ourselves, for ourselves, is also vitally important. At RCS, we're about creating the modern vertical conservatoire. We're about making whole artists that care about giving back to the community as well as practicing their craft. And that's what you all are. You are expert practitioners, and you care about how and for whom you practice and share your work. You care about how you learn and how you teach. You see the value, just as Akram Khan said, and we thank him so much for being here today. Just as Akram said about bringing people together and sharing stories and commanding their attention for that hour, an hour and a half. You recognize that once you strip away the noise of politics, the noise of background, the noise of personalities, you have human beings. The one species on the planet that seems capable of leaving a record behind, of recording and responding to the world, of capturing emotions through the media of artistic expression. History remembers this, not politics, not battles, not economies. We hunger to know how our ancestors and previous generations expressed their humanity. We flock to historic architectural sites. We uncover hidden scrolls. We recreate music and plays from the past. But we need to flip this cycle of being recognized once we become history and taken for granted in the present. So one of the superpowers you all have is the ability to advocate, to lobby, to express and find support. It's an understood part of the artistic process to have a vision, but seek the support to execute on that vision. Today, you join a proud tradition of artists and production graduates from the RCS. They and you have graduated to have an impact on stage, screen, halls, theaters, or backstage. They and you are our teachers, our chroniclers, our change makers, our society creators. If at times it seems unfair that your work seems to be less valued, remember that's just on the surface level. On the deepest of levels, you must know that without you and your work, with the rise of artificial intelligence, with the distraction and lack of focus on anything deeper, humans would become less relevant to the planet, less capable of coming together, less able to solve problems. Therefore, you are needed to show what it means to be human and alive today. And we wish you every success in your journey and your art. Thank you. This congregation is now ended. Please be upstanding for our graduates.